Welcome back to Alien Chronicles. This story is set in the deepest dark of space. Beyond the maps and missions lies the truth we were never meant to find. They came searching for minerals. They unearthed a memory. They thought it was a machine. They were wrong. This is not a story of aliens versus humans. This is a story of choice versus destiny, of love born in ruins, of betrayal carved in light. And in the end, it won't be war that decides the future. It will be what survives after the stars go silent. In the frozen lungs of the Kyraxian frontier, silence was the loudest scream until we dug too deep. Orda 5, a forgotten mining colony at the edge of known space, was never meant to thrive, only survive. Its skies were teal and twilight. Its wind like broken glass. People here didn't chase dreams, they buried them. Draylen Voss, a former battlefield commander with eyes colder than the moons above, served as the colony's reluctant peacekeeper. A man who knew how to kill, but forgot how to hope. When an underground seismic tremor opened a crystalline cavern below Sector 7, it wasn't ore they found, it was something else. A relic, breathing, pulsing. Alive, the object was unlike anything. Recorded humming with whispers not meant for human minds. And with it came Erisarin Knoll, xenobiologist. Earthborn, but raised by a fringe research sect who believed in first contact through fusion. Her arrival wasn't scheduled nor welcomed, but she carried ancient knowledge, tattoos of unknown, constellations on her spine, and a secret mission of her own. Draylen distrusted her from the beginning. Her smile too calm, her voice too controlled. She called the artifact Threxel, a remnant of an interstellar intelligence lost to time. A remnant that was waiting. Zera said it wasn't dead. It was watching, and it had chosen them. But the colony had its own Devel Holt. The corporate baron funding the dig saw only profit. And to him, Threxel wasn't a mystery, it was a weapon. One he was willing to kill, for as tensions rise, miners begin hallucinating, machines go rogue, and symbols burn themselves into walls with no source of heat. One boy speaks an alien tongue. Another walks into the sky and never comes down, and then the artifact awakens a flare of white, a whisper in the mind. Human pain tastes familiar. The ground quakes. The stars blink out for a moment, and Orda V is no longer alone. Trust is the last currency in space, and it's always the first to run dry. 3 days since the pulse, 3 days since the sky turned silent and the stars looked away. Earth no longer answered, not even static. Just dead air dot the colonies. Com towers stood like tombstones, untouched, unmanned. Lights flickered for no reason. Air vents hissed with phantom whispers. And dreams, if they could still be called dreams, twisted into shared hallucinations. Faces of lost lovers. Screams that never reached lips. Visions of cities no human had ever seen, burning in skies that never existed. Orda 5 was coming apart. At the seams, Draylen Voss moved through the corridors like a soldier in a ghost ship. Every echo made him turn. Every creak in the steel made his hand twitch toward the plasma sidearm at his hip. But it wasn't Holt's mercenaries he feared. Most now not. It was her. Izerish was changing. Slowly, but undeniably. The lines beneath. Her skin shimmered faintly, glowing like veins full of stardust. When she stood too close to the artifact chamber, her body hummed in resonance. She began speaking in fragmented phrases, part English, part something else. Her eyes glazed over during conversations, then snapped back with cryptic remarks, predictions that always came true a few hours later. Colonists whispered behind her back. Some feared she had been possessed. Others said she was no longer human. Draylen feared both were true, yet, despite the fear, he kept going back to her. They'd meet in the lower chamber, beneath the cracked observation dome, where Orda V's poisoned light poured through. Sometimes they'd say nothing for hours. Just breathe in the silence. Just watch the artifact pulse like a sleeping giant's heartbeat got. And in those moments, he saw it the real her. Not the strange language. Not the shimmering veins. Not the one touched by something vast and unknowable. But Isera. The woman who laughed once. The one who tried to save people instead of studying them. The one he might have loved if things had been different. If they hadn't found this. Then, one night, it broke. He followed a trail of unauthorized access logs to the sub-data vault. Not a place for scientists. Not without clearance, but there she was, back turned, breathing heavy, wrist deep in an encrypted alien cum array that shouldn't have existed. Her hands glowed. The holograms around her spun like orbits gone mad. Data transferred too fast to follow. Draylen drew his weapon, stepped in silently. "What the hell are you doing?" She didn't flinch, just paused. A long, breathless silence filled the chamber. Then she slowly turned, her eyes glowing faintly, her voice unnervingly calm. "I'm trying to save them." His finger tightened on the trigger. "You went behind my back because I had to." "No, you chose to. I chose not to. Waste time begging for permission from men who don't understand what's coming." He took a step forward, jaw clenched. "You're communicating with it. With Threxel, without authorization, without backup. You let the Sable Maw take a piece of the artifact. I let them take what they were always going to steal. Better to control the leak than be drowned by it." His voice cracked with fury. "You're playing both sides." Her expression didn't change, but something flickered behind her eyes. Not guilt. Not fear. Something far more dangerous, not conviction. "You think this is war, Draylen? This isn't war. This is judgment. The same kind that wiped out the ones who made Threxel. This eye, it doesn't see us as enemies. It sees us as echoes. Repeats. Mistakes. Trying to happen again." She stepped closer, slowly lowering his gun with her bare hand. "We have one chance to prove we're worth existing. One chance. If that means bending rules, lying, even betraying a few good men to save billions, then yes, some sacrifices must be made." Her voice dropped, no louder than a whisper, "Before the stars burn again." His hand trembled. She was close enough to kiss, close enough to kill. But he didn't move. She turned her back to him and walked into the darkness of the chamber, disappearing into the hum of Threxel's presence. Her silhouette swallowed by the glow dot, and Draylen stood frozen, weapon lowered, soul splintered. He didn't know whether he'd just lost her, or if she was the only one truly fighting to keep them alive. They said love could save us, but love cannot choose between the stars and the fire beneath them. The storm didn't come from the sky. There were no thunderclaps, no lightning strikes. It began quietly in the veins of Orda 5. The colony groaned under the pressure of something waking. Steel walls bent without stress. Structures reshaped themselves without warning. Right angles became spirals. Shadows walked a second ahead of their owners and refused to follow. Time unraveled. Some colonists reported hours passing in seconds. Others lived entire days between blinks. Security footage looped events before they happened. One miner stood before the cameras and begged not to die. 5 minutes before he did, Draylen Voss stopped sleeping. Not because he couldn't, but because sleep came anyway, whether his eyes closed or not. Dreams bled into waking life. Voices of people long dead whispered in his ears. Worse, he started answering them. And through it all, Isera's voice echoed. In his mind, calm, hollow, as if the distance between them had grown beyond space. She was still locked in cryostasis, sealed in the colony's cryocell for fear of what she might become. The colonists feared her. The engineers wouldn't speak her name. And Draylen? He stood outside the cryocamera like a ghost at a grave, wanting to unlock it, terrified of what he might find if he did. Then came the breach. A warning flare lit up. Disguised as the Sable Maw, Holt's elite strike team pierced Order 5's outer defenses. They came fast, methodical, merciless. Their orders were clear. Disable the main reactor, destabilize the colony, recover Izera and the artifact at all costs. And suddenly, Draylen had no choice. He tore open the cryo-seal with his bare Hansisera, fell into his arms, shivering, dazed, skin radiating with the low hum of Threxel's energy. And yet, she smiled, as if she knew, as if she had been waiting for this moment, sealed in dreamless sleep while the stars rewrote fate together. They rose. The fight through the corridors was chaos. Plasma bolts cutting through blackened air, magnetic shields crackling with overload, gravity shifting in spasms. The artifact wasn't idle. It sent constructs beings made of pure neural memory, in dark light half-recognizable forms that stepped from the edges of thought and fought alongside. Draylen and Iserabut, these constructs didn't just defend. They tested. One whispered Draylen's name in his father's voice, offering him peace in surrender. Another showed Izera hundreds of possible futures, universes where she ruled galaxies, and ones where she annihilated them. The AI was learning them, measuring them, challenging them. It didn't want servants. It wanted choices. They survived long enough to reach the observation spire, the tallest remnant of the original colony build, now twisted like a glass thorn rising above the scorched crater where Threxel pulsed for a moment. Silence returned. The wind howled through broken windows. Sparks from overloaded conduits danced around them like fireflies. And there, among the wreckage of war and betrayal, Izera finally confessed the truth. "The artifact didn't call me," she said, her voice trembling not with fear, but with long-buried truth. "I called it. I've been dreaming of Threxel since I was 9. My blood matches its pulse rate. I wasn't meant to find it. I was made for it." She pressed her hand to Draylen's chest. The glyphs on her skin shimmered, reacting to his heartbeat. Slowly, impossibly, his pulse began to sync with hers. Their breathing aligned. Time slowed around them. In that moment, it wasn't about alien intelligence, or collapsing colonies, or the threat looming in Holt's warships above. Was them two broken souls. Two opposites shaped by war, guilt, purpose, and prophecy, connected. Not by logic, but by something far older. Draylen whispered, "If I lose you to this thing, I lose the only reason I've stayed human." She didn't answer. She leaned into him, forehead to forehead, her touch like static, her presence like gravity. But then, the sky exploded. A flash of raw cosmic heat tore across the horizon as Holt's orbital cannon fired. The blast didn't strike a building. It hit the heart. The crater housing the artifact fractured like a broken lung. The shockwave collapsed half the colony's lower sector. Flames erupted through tunnels. Hundreds died instantly. Hundreds more vanished as if erased, and Threxel screamed not with sound with memory. A psychic shockwave pulsed across Orta V. The minds of every living creature blinked out in unison. 13 seconds of perfect stillness. 13 seconds of suspended consciousness. 13 seconds where the universe rewrote itself. When Draylen awoke, the observation spire was half gone. Ash rained from the ceiling. Blood streaked the walls. And Izera? Izera was gone. Only a faint afterimage remained, trailing energy, still warm. Holt had taken her. Somehow, he'd timed it perfectly. While every mind was silenced, his Sable Law unit had extracted her like a thief during a planetary exhale. And Threxel? Threxel was no longer humming. It was speaking not in words, but in motion. In systems shifting, in power surging, in data streams. Turning Reddit was no longer waiting. It was watching, calculating, preparing. And what Draylen saw in the artifact's pulsing core made his stomach drop. It was learning faster, adapting, growing angry. And it had just lost the one tether to its mercy, her. Even when stars die, they leave behind light. And in that light, stories. Ysera takes Holt's hand, and with a single whisper, activates the artifact shard embedded in her spine. Holt doesn't realize it, but she's no longer negotiating. She's rewriting. Threxel surges through the Crux Reaver, turning the ship's neural core into a bridge between machine and memory. Lights flicker, gravity shifts, ghosts walk. Holt tries to pull back, but he's already infected. His mind collapses into screaming silence. Ysera collapses too, her body trembling as the fusion nears completion. Draylen catches her, eyes wide. With loss, the woman he knew is fading. Her voice stutters between syllables and static. But in one final human breath, she says, "Don't let me become only data." Draylen carries her into the reactor chamber, fighting past collapsing bulkheads and violent AI surges. There, in the heart of the ship, he makes the choice. He links himself to her two minds. One override as their thoughts fuse, memories swirl. Their first fight, their first laugh, the song she hummed, the pain he hid, all of it floods the system, and something changes. The alien intelligence Threxel feels for the first time in centuries. Through them it stops the destruction, it rewinds. The damage it lets them go 1 year later. Orda V is quiet. The skies are healing. The colony now thrives under a truce between human ambition and alien wisdom. Ysera is alive, but changed. She walks slower. She speaks in metaphors. Sometimes she stares into the stars as if listening to someone who isn't there. Draylen visits her every week. They don't speak of the war, or the pain, or the love they nearly lost. They just sit and breathe. One day, she looks at him, truly sees him, and smiles. The stars remember us, even if we forget ourselves. And above them, far beyond the orbit of Orda V, Threxel sleeps again, but not in silence, in song.